Hey guys, so I did say I was going to make a video on that Diablo build, and this is an interesting build. It's been a build that I've always thought was okay, or at least a build that has potential, and excuse the lag, it lags all the time now when I press like literally anything. Let me see if I can move this over just a tad and shrink it down a little bit. I'll just shrink it down so you guys can see my health. Or no, I want you guys to be able to see my abilities and the cooldowns. Okay. So, I've talked about this build for a little bit. But I've done variations of it, and I've kind of play tested it around a little bit. And what I've noticed is... Hold on, let's see, there we go. What I've noticed about this build is it does like two things really, really well, and the rest of it does rather poorly. So let me talk about what it does really well. I guess I'll leave that to the end. I'll talk about the build and what it does and the reason why this build kind of came up anyways. So back when Diablo got his rework, where his W no longer goes out in every direction, the W goes off in one direction and comes back, right? When he got that rework, everyone said that, like, every build was terrible, and Diablo in general was just terrible. But what I found was that Diablo actually was pretty good. Diablo, he was pretty good, but you had to go auto-attack build. And his auto-attack build was surprisingly good. Well, then they buffed Q build, they buffed W build, he became absolutely meta, then they nerfed Q build, he was still meta, they nerfed Q build, he was still meta, they buffed W build, he was still meta, they buffed W build again, he was still meta, then they nerfed Q build, and then he was, like, completely gone. Like, no one played him, it was so weird. Well, auto-attack build has only received buffs. And, so, what is auto-attack build? Well, auto-attack build takes Feast on Fear. And the reason you take Feast on Fear is it says, stunning an enemy with Shadow Charge or Overpower heals you for 12% of your max health over 3 seconds. It's a lot of healing, 12%. Diablo has one of the highest max healths when he's got all of his souls, so that's a lot of healing. Okay. Let's just say Overpower. Let's ignore that it works with your Q at all. Let's say that it only works with your flip. 35 mana on your flip, stuns for a very short period of time, and heals you for 12% of your health. Let's say that's all it does. Level 4, Life Leech. Diablo gains 1 soul and heals for 2% of max health whenever he basic attacks an enemy. 4% if he's at 100 souls, meaning that he's going to be healing for a lot at 100 souls. It's quite a bit. So, on top of the fact that you're going to have a constant... How often does he attack? He attacks little under... Let's just say once per second. Right? He attacks once per second. It's a little under, but you get the point. So, at 1 attack per second, he's now gaining 4% of his health per second from Life Leech, and potentially 4% of your health per second from Feast on Fear. Except that you are going to be able to increase your attack speed with your E. Stunning an enemy with Shadow Charge or Overpower increases your attack speed by 50% for 7 seconds up to 100%. So 100% attack speed increase. Which means that instead of that 8% health per second, you're actually going to be gaining close to 12% health per second because you're going to be attacking twice per second. Sounds pretty good. But you might be saying, well, Paradox, you keep acting like you're going to have Feast on Fear going forever. Well, guess what? You will, because Diabolical Momentum makes it to where you're going to be able to reduce the cooldown of your E every time that you basic attack. And it reduces the cooldown of all of his basic abilities. So this actually also helps with wave clear a little bit, kind of solving one of the problems that Diablo has. And this is also why I call it more of the peel build, because it's very easy to rip a diver off of your team when your E cooldown is very, very short. You can charge your backline and rip someone off of your team, and you can peel better than just about anyone, which makes this great. But it's not just for peeling. You still have one of the best engages in the game when engaging onto a single target, which is the APOC combo. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's very good on a single target. It allows you to lock down a single target for a very long period of time, and it's very obvious when you're doing it, so it's easy for your team to follow you up. So that's the benefit of that, is Diabolical Momentum is going to keep your cooldowns low and allow you to just keep getting a ton of value off during these fights. Now, I gotta be careful. I am going against a Tychus that has bigger they are, meaning that I can drop in like 3 seconds. In fact, I'm going to show you guys a Tychus video later talking about his new build, which I'm still not really sure about. Then again, I played it terribly, but whatever. But yeah, so that's what you get at level 7. You're going to be having your E going about every 3 to 5 seconds, and that means Feast on Fear is always going to be going. Then level 16, you can get away with a lot of stuff, but I generally go with Overpowering Nightmare. And you can go with Domination if you're in a more competitive environment, but I really like Overpowering Nightmare just because it synergizes so well and makes sure that you have that 100% attack speed going. But I mean, look at the amount of healing that I'm doing, right? Cho'Gall can't out-damage the healing that I'm doing, and I'm too mobile for Tychus to even stay attacking me for long enough to get value off of that, which is great. And then finally, level 20, you can kind of go with whatever you want to. I think I'd probably go Hellgate, so I could Hellgate Q, EQ, but, I don't know. I didn't end up getting there. I wouldn't go Dying Breath, because you don't really want to die in this build. And Dying Breath isn't even that good. You, like, kill it, and then it just pops, and then, like... I mean, it does reduce the cooldown. Oh, it only reduces the cooldown for each hero hit. I really don't like this. I mean, I think it might be cool if you have, like a Stay While or something that you could always combo it with. Oh, that was one thing that I didn't show. If you ever get to this portion of the map, I should have brought out my crayons, but you ever get to this portion of the map, you can always flip them back, push them into towers, and you can generally do like half of a tank's health, and if for some odd reason an assassin stepped up that far, you could flip them and pretty much just kill them with a double tower shot. So something that I do a lot. So you can see I'm now at 100 souls, and you're going to see the cooldown of Fire Stomp during fights is going to be rather low, because I'm going to be constantly throwing out Fire Stomps. When I get into team fights, I don't throw them out too often. I'm more focused on getting my Overpower and then just getting auto attacks off. I don't even really care that much about positioning for Shadow Charge, to get like the stun off of Shadow Charge. I would rather throw a Shadow Charge so that, I mean, I say that and then I got into a position where I could stun them here, but I mainly use Shadow Charge so I could catch someone that my team isn't going to get, like this. And then I body block, get a couple auto attacks, and then I step away. And that's pretty much it. You're going to see this work a lot on Diablo. You're going to see... I'm going to get away with a lot because I'm charging in, getting a kill, and I usually get a kill on a target that's going to do a lot of damage to me. But I get the kill fast enough, and then the rest try to kill me because I'm low health, but I just gain so much life because I just flipped someone, which means I have to gain 12% of my life. Now, I have 5,200 health at this level. To give you an idea of how much health that is, Cho'Gall only has 4,100. So imagine for a second that Cho'Gall could gain 12% of his health per second. It's pretty insane if you think about it. It's insane. So there hits a point here where my team starts arguing a little bit, and I've turned off chat because I didn't want anyone to hold anything against them. It wasn't anything too bad, but they're arguing off of how many people they need to send top to deal with to hold the point. And this whole time that they do that, hold on.
I think I just...
That's someone hosted someone, you know, it's Baja. Yeah, so what ends up happening here is I see this camp, so I end up just grabbing that. I flip him, push him into tower range, but not too much I can actually do to kill him. And that's one downside about this build. You do no damage. You do really no damage. I know I say that with a lot of tank builds, but like this one, you really don't do damage. It's gonna seem like you're doing damage, but you're really not. But just watch it, like, how tanky I get for some of these fights, and some of the times that I hold the objective point. I mean, I'll hold this objective point against, like, 2 or 3 people for such a long period of time. It's insane. But yeah, our healer is an Uther, so that's another thing that you need to kind of pay attention to. When your healer is an Uther, you're likely not going to get a lot of healing as a tank. So you need to do whatever you can. So that's what I was talking about peeling. It's a really powerful build on peeling because you can charge anyone at any point and then just rip them away from someone. So in my opinion, this is one of the best peeling builds. Now right here, Vala goes back, Uther goes back, and I need to defend this point against both of these people, or else they're going to win the objective. However, watch my cooldowns really quick. I'm not casting Fire Stomp. I'm not casting Shadow Charge. I'm only casting Overpower. And the reason for this is Overpower is the least amount of mana for the most amount of self-healing. And that's really, really important, because when you start getting low on mana like this, it's really important. If you need to hold that objective for a long period of time, you can't waste your mana, because if I did a QE, I would be out of mana already. But if I only do an E, I'm going to stay with Feast on Fear, and I'm going to keep auto-attacking, but I want to hold this point, right? So I'm just going to keep using Feast on Fear, and I'm going to continue auto-attacking. And I'm able to hold this point throughout the entire back of both Uther, Vala, and the death of Orphea, making it to where I can stay on this point. So even though we did lose top for that entire time, we didn't lose any of the objective. I mean, the amount of self-healing in this build is insane. Now, the downside about this build, you've seen the impact of this build. You've seen the power of this build. Now let's talk a little bit about the downside. While this build has great utility, great survivability, good engages, good disengages, it does no damage, and it's reliant on auto attacks. Now, I've talked about this before on why auto attack builds on tanks have to be very powerful for them to be viable. And the reason why is because there's so many tanks in this game that have ways to slow your attack speed. There's so many tanks in this game that have ways to CC you. There's so many tanks in this game that have ways to just annoy you and stop you from auto attacking. And in this build, if you can't auto attack, you lose so much that it's just one of those things that you have to deal with. So right here, same thing. I didn't have the mana to do a Q and an E, so I tried to just do an E. I was hoping that someone might have slowed or ulted or something, but they didn't have anything. She went strafe, and that's fine. But yeah, so many tanks have answers to it, and so many tanks can prevent you from doing this. And this is what I'm talking about. The APOC engage is so strong. Now, he ends up getting out here. It was probably my bad. When I initially did it, I saw that we had the Vala and the Uther. I figured we'd be okay with it. But I didn't really pay too much attention to that, and I should have, because I wasted APOC for it. So right here, I don't want to overstay against a Tychus, so that was rather just lucky. I didn't plan that. So I do just continue auto-attacking, healing myself. W's nice heal if you need to get away from a fight for a second. So now I have Cruelty. Up to 100% increased attack speed. So I can attack nearly twice per second. Gaining 4% of my life per auto attack. I'm at 6,000 health. So 4% of 6,000 is a lot. But yeah, so right here again, they can't kill me. So they have to choose a different target to attack. But unfortunately, I can peel a lot. So even though they want to attack a different target, I'm not going to let them attack Uther, right? I'm going to continue pulling them away from Uther so that they can't attack Uther. And this time I'm just going to go for Ariel. I saw that I had APOC, so I was like, maybe if I can get her to half health, I can just blow her up the next time she goes in. So watch, I see her, pop APOC, flip her, and boom, she gets hit by the APOC. And that's what I do every time, guys. If I pop Apocalypse, if you're using Apocalypse and it's not stunning at least one person, you're using Apocalypse wrong. Yes, Apocalypse is great when you combo it with Void Prison or Stay a While and Listen or whatever is your favorite thing to combo it with. But at the very least, and this is a misplay on my part, I should have gone and helped my team go do boss. It was definitely the better call. I don't remember what I was doing this game, but I was just like zoning out a little bit. I think I was starting to record and I was gonna explain how much wave clear you have, because you actually have a lot. Remember that this talent right here reduces your cooldowns by essentially every 1 second. You're reducing your cooldowns by 2.5 seconds. So you're increasing your cooldown reduction by like 250% or something. So like watch the cooldown of the W. It's very easy, and I didn't even auto attack that correctly because they got killed. I ate a bunch of damage from the Banelings so that we could make this a little bit easier. I see that my team's fighting down at the bottom. This is probably a misplay for me to even come up here to begin with. Yeah, so I decided to head down there, see if I can't help out, even though I'm really late. It still might be worth it to show up. I was trying to get 16s for our team. Level 16 is where this build, and sorry, I have little hearts in other places. I'll see if I can move this over to a build that we don't see the little hearts. So once again, you see that I do the same thing. I throw out my Q. I could have APOC'd comboed there, but I didn't really want to. I'm going to save that for later. You see that I don't do APOC until I have all of my abilities. Because I want to make sure that I can APOC, charge, and then flip them. But in this case, I'm just flipping. So I took Overpowering Nightmare, which allows me to have a lot of flips, which means I can charge up, you see that attack speed? I can charge up my attack speed really fast, and you just get terrifying. You honestly do. Right here, I'm going to take a lot of damage from Tychus. He pops his ult and also pops his trait, so that seems like a good place for me to just walk away. If Deathwing dies, that's not on me. I'm going to head up top, or I can just Hearthstone. So yeah, I like Overpowering Nightmare because it quickly charges up Cruelty. I think in the competitive environment, Domination's definitely better, but in this build, you don't really want to go Debilitating Flames. Yes, you could lower your cooldown, but like, if you're going to go Debilitating, you'd rather go Eternal so you can get your 3 flames off really fast, and then throughout the most important portion of the fight, the enemies have their damage reduced. That's something that I didn't really want to worry about. So I think this is definitely one of the most viable versions of the build. So again, APOC combo to take out the Cho'Gall. I reposition so that it's easy for me to flip him, but then I go back to body blocking, and then I flip him, and then I attack him. And remember, the cooldown of my flip is going to be reduced by my auto attacks. So I'm going to be constantly auto attacking to reduce the cooldown of my flip and give me back all those charges. With the extra attack speed that I have, I could use all 3 of my flips, and then I could auto attack and gain all of my charges back very quickly. So not only are you unkillable, but you have a ridiculous amount of CC, and after the attack speed, I would say you do a little bit of damage, but overall, you're not as much damage as just going W build or Q build. But you more sustained damage from W build, more burst damage from Q build, but in auto attack build, you're kind of the worst of all the builds, except for you have way more survivability, assuming you're not getting CC'd, and you have way more CC than all of the builds. So right here, I love stuff like this, where you charge someone, you flip them, and you still have a bunch of flips left, so I mean, maybe the overpowering's a bit overkill. You probably don't need it, because you get your flips back fast enough, but I just love this. I wouldn't have had the ability to kill this Cho'Gall the way that I did if I didn't have overpowering. So I just really like overpowering. It's so good. And then I can flip Tychus, auto-attack him. I can flip him again if I want. I mean, it's just, it's brutal. I can step away, and then I could just mount up and head back in. So to give you an idea of the stats this game, I did more damage than Vala, but again, that's most likely just because I was auto-attacking Cho'Gall for like 3 hours straight. My self-healing, though, is like almost double what the rest of my team is combined, the enemy team combined, and I mean, it's closing in on being double. Oh, another APOC combo onto Gul'dan, and then auto-attack Gul'dan. I'm just kind of stalling him out back here, but I could have easily taken out Gul'dan purely because every time that he drains, I can flip. Now, there was a little bit of a bug here. He was at half health, the game ended, and he was able to drain the rest of his life because I couldn't get another flip, but normally I would have just flipped him again, interrupting that, and then I would have charged him into this wall when he got closer, and I would have flipped him and then body blocked him, and like, there's no way he would have lived through all of that. So that's the cool part about this Diablo build, is tons of utility, tons of peeling, and just unkillable. Now, what is the build, and what do I recommend changing in this build? Let me just go back just a tiny bit so we can pull that up, and then we'll get into it. But yeah, auto-attack builds in general, like, there's a couple heroes, there's a couple tanks that have auto-attack builds, and I've tried them, I've tried to make them work, and I just end up having, like, the same problems every time. Like, there's just so many CCs. Hold on. Why is it not letting me, check the builds? Okay. So, let's talk about it. Feast on Fear. This is necessary. This talent is so good in auto attack build because it allows your E to heal a stupid amount, and your cooldown of your E is going to be extremely low. It's just necessary. In any other build of Diablo, I'd say that level 1 is situational. Not in this build. Feast on Fear. Life Leech. I mean, it's auto attack build. You have to take this talent. Right here is where a lot of debate comes in on the auto attack build. The version that I'm going, momentum's required. You need to lower the cooldown of your abilities so that you can heal more and so you can peel more. An extra 200 damage in the late game, and it goes up to 400, is okay. But I don't think it's worth as much as just having lower cooldowns, especially since you get more wave clear from momentum, because it lowers the cooldown of your W as well. It's not great, it's not Joanna or anything, but it could definitely allow you to clear a lane and then go and soak another lane. APOC, this is up to you guys. I just find that in an auto attack build, the longer you're breathing, the less time you're auto attacking. So generally, and this works the same with like the auto attack build on Leoric, I don't like going March because the more you're marching, the less you're auto attacking. Kind of makes sense. So I go APOC. I think Lightning Breath is a better ult most of the time, but in Q build and an auto attack build, APOC is just so good. I would say in Q build, APOC is really good. In auto attack build, APOC is just slightly better than Lightning Breath. But if you're just better with Lightning Breath, go Lightning Breath. But at that point, I think you should just go W build so you get the extra spell power and you get the extra healing, because one of the things about being like tanky in W build is that you'll start off a fight, you'll throw a W, you'll Q someone into a wall, you'll throw a W, you'll flip someone, you'll throw a W, and then all the enemies will then get hit by W, which means that you'll get healed during your breath because you're gonna W, Q, W, flip, W, fire breath or lightning breath. Then during the lightning breath, you're going to be getting extra spell power, you're going to be lowering the enemy's damage, their movement speed, as well as you're going to heal a ton. So by the time all of your W's have returned, you're halfway through lightning breath and the enemies have just lost. Like, that's how I used to play on my Smurf. I used to dominate in W build on my Smurf. Just because it's such an impactful, like, 5 seconds to a fight. You just win every single fight. So with that being said, that's where Lightning Breath is good. If you're going to take Lightning Breath, you need to kind of take a few of those talents. You kind of just go W build. Level 13, Cruelty. Again, this is another one of those just necessary talents, especially if you're going to grab Momentum and you're going to grab Life Leech, like, you need that attack speed, and it's so easy to trigger because of Momentum, because you're going to have such a low cooldown on your E. This last talent tier, I think, is definitely the one that you can kind of get away with anything. I think Overpowering is going to be the default state. If you don't know what to pick, pick Overpowering, because it allows you to ramp up that attack speed quickly and allows you to get a lot of value off. Debilitating is not bad. You have to think about it that your cooldown of your W will be lower, but it's not going to be like 3 quick W's in a row like if you went W build. It's going to be W, E, couple auto attacks, W, E, couple auto attacks. I would say this is going to be the least likely talent. Domination, I mean, if you're good, you could Q, EQ, few auto attacks, and you've got your QEQ back up, which means that even if that person that you QEQ'd, they get back around you, you could just grab them again and bring them back to your team. So they could almost never leave if you get good with Domination. So I'd say that's definitely a talent in the competitive scene, is you look at Domination. If you're with a team that's coordinated and they can follow up your combos, then yeah, Domination's definitely going to be a better one. If you're not, if you're just solo queuing, grab that Overpowering Nightmare. It's just really good. And then level 20, that's up to you. I don't like Dying Breath. I think Lord of Terror is good. It'll definitely help you get your souls back faster. Because if you lose your souls in this build, you're going to be in trouble. So I would say Lord of Terror is definitely good. However, if you do go Domination, there are some combos you can do with Hellgate. For example, if you Hellgate, let's say you jump from here. Let me see if I can get this right. Yeah. You jump from here to here with Hellgate. Then there's a target here that you Q, which will then push them over here. You can then use E, which will flip them over here, and then you can use Q to push them back into your Hellgate. Your Hellgate then stuns, and you can immediately pop your ult. and the Hellgate stun lasts for the same duration or the same time it takes to set up your other ult. So then they get stunned by Hellgate, and then they get stunned by your regular thing. This whole time you're auto-attacking them, and then you can push them further into your team. And so if you are going to take Domination, I would say take Hellgate. If you're going to take Overpowering Nightmare, probably Lord of Terror. Does that help you out, guys? I hope so. It's a fun build to play. I think it's going to be really good in lower ranks for Diablo because it's less risk. You just auto-attack a lot more. And I think in the competitive scene, it may actually be the new Diablo build purely because you still have the engage of the old Q build, and all you're losing, realistically, all you're losing is an armor reduction, which isn't that big. Because you can still take Domination, you can still take APOC, you're losing a little bit of damage on Malevolence. So at the end of the day, you're losing damage, and then you're losing, like, ranged healing. But, like, if you're ranged, hopefully your healers can be healing you. But either way, this is the build. Hopefully you guys like it. I do want to point out really quick, I'm doing a push for the next few videos. And they're all sponsored by Join Honey. If you guys are unfamiliar with Join Honey, it is a shopping app. It's an extension you can put on your browser, an add-on extension, whatever you want to call them, that will look for coupons while you're shopping. The way that they make money, they don't track your data or anything. I mean, they probably do, to be honest. Everything does these days. But they claim to not track your data. They make money because when they apply the coupon for you, they apply an affiliate link for them. So it tricks Amazon into thinking that they brought you there, when in reality you were there first, and then they just applied a coupon and then said they brought you here. So overall, it's a little weird how they make their money, but either way, they're sponsoring this video, so you guys can check that out. They have a bunch of cool features, not just the whole coupon stuff, but I like doing price watching, where there's like a game that I'm looking for that's 60 bucks. I don't want to pay 60 bucks, so I'm going to wait until it goes down to 30 bucks. Instead of me checking the price all the time, I could just set a price alert, so when it drops down to 30 bucks, it just sends me an email. It's a great way to like not have to pay attention. Like right now I'm looking at Horizon Zero Dawn on PC, and yes, I know there's a lot of like ways you can buy it from like other countries or whatever, but I'm just like, I'll just see if it ever drops down to 30 bucks on Amazon, call it a day. And that's what I'm doing. So feel free to do that. Check it out in the link down below. Join Honey /ref/NotParadox. So thank you guys so much, and feel free to check out my other videos.